What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Happy Friday. Hope you guys are all doing well. I love Fridays. That is when all the kids are off school and we can hang out as a family. I can also get a lot of stuff done around the house because I'm building out this office behind me, as you can see, and I got to start painting this thing. So that will probably happen this weekend. But anyway, hope you guys have plans for the weekends, spending time with friends and family, and all of that. So Friday, what do we have on the schedule for the show today? Well, there not a ton of news going on in Bitcoin. A new tax proposal has dropped from the Biden administration. We're kind of have expected it. It's not a complete surprise, but we're going to read through an article that details out what exactly it means. And then after that, I'm going to go through an article that I'm still in the process of writing about demographics. And this has become one of my recent obsessions. I've known for a long time that demographics have been falling. It's, in the last couple of years, it's become a bigger and bigger concern. And I just can't believe that it's not like front page news everywhere. And I think it's just a matter of trying to understand what's going to happen and how bad it can get. So anyway, that's what this new article is. It's still, like I said, unfinished, but I'm going to read through that with you guys a little bit. So let's share the screen. And which one do I want to come up on? Let's go to this one. I'm going to refresh. So this is bitcoinandmarkets.com. It's my homepage for all of my content. There's member perks and everything. You can check that out. Support my content there at bitcoinandmarkets.com. That's where this blog post will be coming out. So check that out. This is the Bitcoin chart. Even with this bad news from the Biden administration, it still does not seem like it's doing anything for the price. Here, I'll share this with Telegram. Waiting on the September 1st deadline. That is next Friday, is the deadline for all the ETFs, at least the first deadline. They can delay it longer. I think it goes out to November. ARK goes out to November, I believe, but the other ones will just go to October because they're still at the 45 stage, and ARK is at the 60-day stage, something like that. But yeah, so they can delay, but a delay will drastically reduce the probabilities of any sort of approval of a Bitcoin spot ETF. And this price action also tells me that an approval is unlikely. So just take that for what it's worth. Let's dive into this newest crypto or Bitcoin tax proposal. It is actually a crypto. It's worse for crypto than Bitcoin. I don't lump them together, as most of you will know. Crypto is not Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not crypto. But yeah, let's get into this. So U.S. crypto tax proposal lets miners off the hook, snares some decentralized exchanges. So this is really bad for DeFi, really bad for the DEXs. But let's get into it. Crypto exchanges, some hosted wallet providers, and payment processors will face new tax rules as soon as 2 years. The proposal, which is opening to a comment period and public hearings, would exempt miners and certain other types of activities. I mean, that's very good. Not crypto miners. There's no such thing as crypto miners, right? There's Bitcoin miners is 99.9% of all miners. Other miners out there are a very small fraction of anything. I have heard of people in the past that I have had long conversations with that mined Ethereum, but those days are over, right? So they're 99% of all mining is Bitcoin. There is no crypto mining. The U.S. Treasury Department has finally unveiled its definition of a broker for the Bitcoin industry, defining how Bitcoin companies and investors will need to meet tax reporting obligations and answering a years-old question over whether decentralized finance platforms and miners will need to gather their users' personal data. Decentralized finance is not decentralized, but Bitcoin is the only DeFi, really. These other things that call themselves DeFi, it's funny because if they were truly decentralized, you could not tell them that they need to gather their users' personal data. But since you can tell them to gather their users' personal data, it's not decentralized. Okay, the Treasury Department published a nearly 300-page proposed rule on Friday in response to the 2021 Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, saying centralized Bitcoin exchanges, payment processors, some hosted wallet providers, some decentralized exchanges, and people or entities that redeem crypto tokens they created will be bound to those reporting obligations. Moreover, Treasury unveiled a new custom tax form, 1099-DA for digital asset, I'm guessing, that these brokers can file, resolving long-standing confusion over whether different versions of the U.S. tax form make the most sense for taxpayers. Miners are exempt from the tax rules, but some decentralized finance platforms will not be. The big exchanges, let's zoom down here. The proposal is, so far, just that. The government still has to take all the public comments by October 30th and listen to participants in a set of public hearings on November 7th and 8th, where the industry may balk at the treatment of decentralized exchanges, some of which could be roped into the reporting requirement, even as they may insist that there's no staff or management to handle such affairs. But of course, the people making those will be the staff. Once the Treasury and IRS have heard from everybody, it's just like, hey, let's go testify in front of Congress. Ripple Labs. I mean, Ripple is completely centralized around Ripple Labs. They will go and testify in front of Congress. They can call in the EOS guys. They can call in the Ethereum guys. They can call in everybody, but they can't call in Satoshi. They can't call in the founders of Bitcoin, the CEO of Bitcoin, anything like that. They can even call in the creators of these DeFi smart contracts. So, all right. Where was I? Treasury IRS heard from everybody. The rules can be approved in a final form, so the industry will have months to lobby federal officials before anything is set in stone for the 2025 tax year. So yeah, this will apply to 2025, but won't affect reporting of your on IRS forms until 2026, reporting for 2025. So it's still a couple of years away. That gives some breathing room to an industry that had been braced for the overhaul to hit as soon as next year. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. So that's all for this one. Bitcoin, it's a nothing burger really for Bitcoin. I mean, it might cause a few headaches for some companies, but Bitcoin, the protocol, Bitcoin, the asset, this has no effect whatsoever on it. I'll have to let this sink in a little bit more, but DeFi, this is very bad for DeFi. This is very bad for all of these scam tokens, for founders of scam tokens, for all of this stuff. They're in big, big trouble. All right, let's go on to my demographics piece. Again, this is a work in progress, so forgive me for not fully formed ideas, but I wanted to get this out here. And then my guys over there on Telegram in my community, I would love your guys' feedback on this and, help me to produce the best possible product that can get these ideas across as clearly as possible. So the discussion of demographic collapse has gone from obscurity to intense debate in just a few years, rightfully so. In my opinion, it will be the defining topic of the 21st century. If you are anything like me, you enjoyed sci-fi shows. Sorry, that was an alarm. If you are anything like me, you enjoyed sci-fi shows like Star Trek and Star Wars, space stations, Sigourney Weaver fighting aliens, world-spanning cities, and so forth. I imagined a future with far more abundance, technology, exploration, and understanding. However, in the year 2023, it has become obvious to many that it is only a childish dream. Even more recent sci-fi, like the popular series The Expanse, is more realistic in some sense, with no warp drive or hyperspace, no artificial gravity, no portraying life in space as very hard, and portraying life in space as very hard, not glamorous in the least. Even The Expanse is based on a vastly higher human population. Earth alone has 30 billion people in the series and another 5 to 10 billion on Mars. So in The Expanse, 10 billion people on Mars is bigger than what's on Earth today, right? So it's expanding population. It's as if we inherently know that that kind of future requires an expanding population. However, the fact that we are faced with today is a future of half or fewer the number of people. I'm not worried about the continued existence of the human race. As a whole, we will figure it out, but I am concerned for some places as they currently exist. South Korea, for example, is facing 95% population decline by the end of the century, with their government projecting the extinction of 96.5% of their urban area by 2117. And it's getting worse by the year. A very different view of the future is starting to emerge, and it is much more bleak. The coming 100 years will see a population aging and decline that precludes all those sci-fi fantasy futures. It even precludes maintaining our current standard of living. Many cities and even countries will find it hard to keep the lights on or feed their people. The first reaction most people have to demographic collapse is either good, we have too many people and are killing the planet, or so what? Why is that bad? In this post, I'll respond to these basic rebuttals. They're killing the planet. I don't want to get too controversial in this post. It isn't a climate blog, but I will briefly respond to this. Science is not done by committee or consensus. That is, in fact, the antithesis of the scientific method. When you hear someone say 95% of scientists agree, disregard their point completely, and perhaps the person making the argument too, because they are delusional. The evidence seems to be, at least partially, the evidence seems to, at least partially, point in the other direction. The Earth is greener today than a few decades ago. Humans have not caused significant climate or sea level variations, and climate naturally changes in its normal course, sometimes dramatically. And I just saw a picture of the Statue of Liberty from 100 years ago versus today, and the water is actually, it looked to be possibly slightly lower today, by 6 inches or so. It wasn't at all higher. So all of this stuff, worry that we've heard for 30 years, 40 years about rising sea levels, it has not occurred in the least. Climate-related deaths have plummeted as alarmists have fear-mongered that it would skyrocket. And I just found this. Climate-related deaths for the last 100 years, continues to fall. On top of that, population figures alone point to a self-contradiction in their argument. And I'm not quite sure on this, guys. So we are to believe that our population has soared while we have been making the Earth less hospitable to humans. Each iteration of climate alarmism has a date that the Earth will become uninhabitable, along with astronomical numbers of climate deaths. Without fail, when those dates arrive, there are more humans, fewer climate-related deaths, and higher living standards than before. The facts say the Earth becomes more habitable the more people we have. More safe, not less. My explanation for why is because we have more people doing more useful things, more science, and more climate mastery. Greater division of labor increases efficiency with a rising population. A rising population makes the world more habitable, not less. I would tell them their argument is backwards. With fewer humans, the Earth will become less habitable for those remaining. They will be poorer and less able to save the planet. So what? The next reaction you will get is just, so what? This one is a little harder to answer. I often say it is less people doing less things. When I say some places will have trouble keeping the lights on, I wasn't exaggerating. There will be fewer engineers to run and maintain the power plants, fewer electricians to run the wires, fewer people to purchase electricity, making the power plant unprofitable in the first place. It's a snowball rolling downhill. Infrastructure needs people to maintain it and people to use it. Another example is roads. We will have fewer people driving on the roads, fewer people paying taxes for upkeep, and fewer people to fix them. Roads that aren't maintained will become impassable in short order. Even a well maintained asphalt road will only last 20 or 30 years. We will see fewer and fewer miles of passable roads, which will increase transportation costs for trucks, and those trucks will have fewer drivers. Entire industries and supply chains will become uneconomic. For example, say a supply chain that makes a widget runs through 15 countries on its way back to the US consumer. It became so long because the producer could save a few pennies here and there. But as demand shrinks because there are fewer customers and costs rise because fewer sailors, fewer truckers, and fewer low income foreign workers, margins tip to be uneconomic to produce at all. Here are some highlights of a list of US industries and their net margins. Remember, demographic collapse will squeeze these margins. Trucking, net margin 1.29%, groceries 1.96%, education 2.92%, farming 5.66%, and the overall average of all the industries on this linked list here from NYU is 8.9. But margins will be squeezed. So something's going to happen to trucking, something's going to happen to groceries, education, all this stuff is going to get squeezed. Okay, understanding economic decline. We easily understand economic growth. More people doing more things, creating more wealth, supporting more credit. The reverse is much harder to conceptualize. Fewer people doing fewer things, creating less wealth, supporting less credit. Many people understand network effects in technology. Each existing member incrementally gains as new members join the network. Total benefit increases at a faster and faster rate as new people join. If you think of an economy as a large network, there is a similar process. As population grows, benefits accrue to the entire network, and this is usually measured by GDP. Granted, these benefits are not equally distributed in most cases, but the total is enhanced and living standards rise for societies as a whole. More inventors, more scientists, more teachers, more debates and communication, more happy accidents, more and faster everything. What we are facing in demographic collapse is the rapid forced unwinding of those network effects. As the population shrinks, you get progressively greater negative feedback effects. Fewer inventors, fewer scientists, fewer teachers, exploration, less and slower everything. Another analogy from economics is economies of scale. This is where cost per unit goes down with added scale due to efficiency and dividing fixed costs between more units of output. Producing more will lower the price to the end consumer, helping them afford more things and increasing their standard of living. Think of this in reverse, with fewer people doing fewer things, less demand for widgets, fewer workers, fewer maintenance personnel, etc. As the number of units goes down, the price to the end consumer will go up, making it so you can afford less and decreasing your standard of living. Can't robots help? The common rebuttal to these economic arguments is that robots will take up the slack. But robots need people to make them and repair them. Fewer people doing fewer things, remember? Robots are cheaper to operate, perhaps, but are more expensive up front. It costs $10 an hour to get some teenager to do something, but that robot that is going to do that same job is going to cost $10,000 or $20 or $50. So it has more expensive upfront costs. You'll need credit to finance their development and installation. But remember, there's less credit, less wealth, less credit. They also rely on the lights not going out. And I told you how the lights could go out in many places. Robots are great for booming economies where people are doing more things and more valuable specializations are becoming available, opening up the menial jobs for robots to do. But that doesn't work the other way. As economies are shrinking, they make fewer and fewer jobs. Division of labor shrinks. robots become competition. All right. And then I'm going to do some aging and its effects, maybe some historical comparisons, and then some exponential numbers, but I haven't got there yet. So that's where I'm going to leave it. This is, I think, like I said up here at the top, it's the defining topic of the 21st century. So, yeah, I'm soliciting feedback, especially from my community there on Telegram. Thanks for joining me, guys. If this is your first time, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going out on YouTube and Rumble if you want to subscribe there. Check out the Telegram, t.me/Bitcoin and Markets, and the website is bitcoinandmarkets.com. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out on this Friday. Hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the next one.